mountains of central California lies a vast region of soaring peaks and deep valleys, set aside forever as Yosemite National Park, where great cliffs of polished granite look down on flowery meadows and cast their reflections in calm, tree-shaded waters, where the air is filled with the song of falling water. And you can stand among forest monarchs which were old when Christ was born. Here there are accommodations to suit every taste, from the finest of luxury hotels to secluded mountain camps, miles from human habitation. Here, too, are activities for every visitor: chuck wagon breakfasts, championship golf, a myriad well-stocked streams, and at night, good songs and good company around a glowing fire. But summer is not Yosemite's only season. Fall clothes the landscape in a brilliant display of color, while the white cloak of winter transforms familiar scenes and attracts thousands of skiers. The return of spring completes this cycle of beauty, whose spell will remain with you always, drawing you back again and again. Yes, Yosemite is truly a magic word, which arouses interest wherever the name appears. Even Mainliner 300, flying in the smooth upper air en route to California. Cruising effortlessly at 5 miles a minute, these great planes can cross the continent in a few pleasant... But now in the spotless galley amidships, interesting preparations are underway. The United Stewardess sets up trays of delicious food prepared by continental chefs in United's own flight kitchen. And there, almost as if you'd rubbed Aladdin's lamp, a full-course meal is spread before you. Fresh fruit cocktail, broiled steak, tossed green salad, frozen dessert, mint wafers, and coffee. Thus, we while away the brief hours while our plane speeds westward along the famous Main Line Airway, which follows the route of the early pioneers. There's the bus waiting at the terminal entrance, bearing the magic word Yosemite. Yosemite, off there among the distant peaks of the Sierra, shining in the sun. The neat, well-kept streets are soon left behind, and we settle back in air-conditioned comfort to enjoy the many fascinating sights along the way. A herd of plodding beef cattle, supremely indifferent to our hurrying progress. The historic gold rush town of Mariposa, dating back to the days of '49. And the spectacular descent into the canyon of the Merced River, whose rushing waters will accompany us during the remainder of our journey. A friendly wave from the ranger speeds us through the park gate. And soon, through the trees, comes the long-awaited first glimpse of Yosemite Valley. On the left, El Capitan sweeps down in a graceful curve, while on the right, his beautiful Bridal Veil falls. Under sheer granite cliffs towering 3,000 feet above us, we come to the Ahwahnee. It is amazing to find in this remote setting one of the world's renowned hotels, offering every comfort and luxury to the arriving guest. After a glance outside your window, you step out on the balcony to marvel at the beauty of your surroundings, dominated by Half Dome, bathed in a glow of sunset light. Yosemite Valley, 7.5 miles long and less than a mile wide, is the center of activity in Yosemite National Park. A delightful way to see the valley is from a comfortable sightseeing bus, whose driver guide explains its scenic features, such as Half Dome and North Dome, sculptured by nature into forms of enduring beauty. Later in the Government Museum, you hear a ranger naturalist explain the origin of these mighty rocks, born of volcanic fires and polished by grinding glaciers. With this information, you're even more receptive to the beauty on every side. Sentinel Rock, rising a sheer 3,000 feet above the valley floor, and the graceful pinnacles of Cathedral Rock. Climbing steeply now, we arrive at Inspiration Point, where the entire valley is spread before us. The majestic cliffs, the plunging waterfalls, and the virgin forest. As we descend to the valley floor, another grand spectacle awaits us. El Capitan, largest granite monolith in the world, whose polished flanks give evidence of the mighty glaciers which once passed this way. Following the river's upstream course, we emerge from the forest to witness the full impact of Yosemite Falls, one of the world's highest cataracts, measuring 2,425 feet from its base to the valley rim. Plunging through a granite notch, the waters fall in a mighty arc, 1,430 feet. Then they drain off in a series of cascades. Until they leap free again, plunging in arrow-swift comets of white water to the rock basin far below. But now it's 7 o'clock of a dewy morning, and we're off on a horseback breakfast ride, a favorite Yosemite activity. A fine way to meet congenial companions, and possibly find a bit of romance as well. Out across the meadows winds the trail. The morning air is scented with flowers, and the song of birds filters through the trees. Well, it looks as if some romantic notions have already been inspired. Break it up, says the guide. We're going places. So they rejoin our party for a brisk canter across the meadow and through the trees until we come to Mirror Lake in its shady basin, reflecting so perfectly the surrounding rocks and trees that it is hard to separate image from reality. The spreading ripples of our passage break the spell. And once again, we're off through the meadows, headed for the river ford and breakfast. We ride up to find part of the group already assembled, and are shown our places where we stretch out Western fashion, licking our lips at the sight of the well-filled plates. From the cooking place, tantalizing odors drift our way. The buttery smell of griddle cakes piled in golden stacks by the fire. aroma of coffee from the king-size pot, and the scent of frying bacon in more than ample supply. Ah, those pancakes. Lucky for us that no one's keeping count of the number we put away. Surely no other food ever tasted quite so good. Full of food and contentment, we join the cowboy serenaders in a rousing chorus of song. Now it's time for a trip to the top of those mysterious cliffs far above us. Our first destination is Glacier Point, less than a mile away in a straight line, but about 30 miles by road. Our comfortable glass-top limousine makes short work of this distance, however. And soon we pull up at Glacier Point Hotel, which has welcomed guests from all over the world. From the wide veranda, a mighty panorama greets the eye. The rounded tops of North Dome and Mount Watkin, the great trough of Tenaya Canyon, the hooded silhouette of Half Dome. The white plume of Nevada Falls, and the lovely pyramid of Mount Star King, framed by arching pine branches. A few hundred yards from the hotel is Glacier Point itself, 3,200 feet directly above the valley floor. From this vantage point, every feature of the valley is plainly visible. The scattered buildings of Camp Curry, the winding course of the Merced River, and the Ahwahnee at the base of the opposite cliff. Far off to the left is Yosemite Falls, whose thunder reaches even this distant point when we stand in silent wonder on the very edge of the world. Our limousine tour continues to Wawona Hotel, whose hospitality has been traditional since 1881. Time passes in leisurely enjoyment of the tree-shaded pool, horseback riding through meadows thick with flowers, and golf on the sporty all-grass course. And so we leave Wawona. Just a minute. Not in this well-preserved relic of its Pioneer Stagecoach days. But aboard our limousine once again, climbing in the clear mountain air, until through the forested aisles are revealed the two guardian sentinels to the Mariposa grove of big trees. Straight and tall they stand, enduring as time itself, man's only living link with the ages of the past. Even in death, these forest giants are almost impervious to decay. Some of the trunks which fell centuries ago are still in a perfect state of preservation. Patriarch of the Sequoia is the Grizzly Giant, estimated to be at least 3,800 years old. We note its impressive dimensions: height 209 feet, diameter 34 7/10 feet, circumference 96.5 feet. But the sheer bulk of the giant is overwhelming, and we can only stand with respectful wonder in its presence. Most famous of all the giant sequoia is the Wawona Tunnel Tree, which stands like a titan of old astride the highway, indifferent to the human swarms around its feet. You continue on to a welcome stop for rest and refreshment at picturesque Big Trees Lodge. Luncheon is served on the terrace among the great golden trunks. And the shy forest creatures occasionally steal out to share your bounty. A short distance from the lodge is the Government Museum, where ranger naturalists are on duty to explain the life history of the giant sequoia, tracing its growth through the ages to a day when a green cone high above the ground ripened and dropped a tiny seed, which at 1,000,000,000 to 1 odds became a healthy tree, growing in the space of many centuries to a perfect specimen, which is a very poem of symmetry and strength. Nestling among the pines at the base of the Royal Arches in Yosemite Valley, the Ahwahnee is surrounded by beauty on every side. A broad stone terrace faces the morning sun, a perfect place to relax and rest. The wide guest balconies are popular for informal entertaining and provide a vantage point for lazy sun worshippers to contemplate the more energetic pastimes going on below them. Golf on the tricky Mashie course, which offers an opportunity for mild exercise and a chance to brush up on your short game. And hard-fought tennis matches. Mealtime, however, brings us all together in the vast baronial dining hall. In such surroundings, the familiar rite of eating becomes a notable event, and you do hearty justice to the bountiful menu. After-dinner hours are lightened by a game of cards in the California room with its historic furnishing, or a quiet chat in the great lounge, a room of noble proportions and decorations, and an excellent place to enjoy beautiful music. Or live over again the memories of these wonderful days by the light of the blazing fire. Many of Yosemite's finer scenes are best observed from its 700 miles of trails which wind throughout the park. All along these trails, you meet hiking parties, swinging along with the stride of experienced mountaineers, or puffing up the grades in a manner that betrays their city origin. There are trails for novice and expert alike. In the meadows are fields of flowers, such as the godetia and the graceful wild columbine. And deep in forest shade, the shy and beautiful snow plant. Late in the day, you may surprise an antlered buck, or a fat, waddling Bruin, who is best left to his own devices. For those who prefer to ride, there are horse trails aplenty. The one to Nevada Fall is a favorite. Here, the Merced River plunges over a precipice in a great plume of intensely white water, cascading into its misty basin. Above the fall, pours down a narrow chute before hurtling over the brink to the black rocks 594 feet below. Those who enjoy solitude can find it on the high Sierra trails, stopping each night at picturesque mountain camps, offering comfortable accommodations, hot showers, and delicious meals. Back here in the wilderness, the fish are eager for the fly. And even a novice may land a prized golden trout. But the favorite of all Yosemite trails is the famous Mist Trail to the top of Vernal Falls. Climbing up the steep trail, we enter the abode of the Mist Goddess. High overhead, the thundering cataract throws out a filmy curtain. But we plunge ahead into the mist, buffeted by ghostly winds and sharp bursts of spray, until we are rewarded by the sight of a shimmering rainbow there at the base of the fall. Climbing a slope carpeted with brilliant blossoms, we leave the mist world behind us for the final climb to the top of the fall. There we stand on the brink and stare at the plunging waters in their rush to the distant sea. For over 50 years, Camp Curry has dispensed a notable hospitality. Many of the older generation have vacationed here since the days of horse-drawn stages, and Mother Curry personally greeted each arriving guest. Camp Curry's charm is compounded of many things. Watching the graceful deer which roam fearlessly along the pathways, and feeding the saucy jays which greedily snap at every tidbit. Looks as if this fellow's getting his peanut the hard way. Bike riding is a popular sport which attracts all ages. Which is even better when combined with a dip in the river. Those deep pools and sandy beaches will always be one of your most pleasant Yosemite memories. Of course, if you prefer tiled floors and filtered water, there's a heated pool with diving boards and lifeguards to watch the youngsters. Speaking of children, there's also the famous Kiddy Camp, staffed by trained supervisors. It's hard to say who appreciates it more, the youngsters or the parents who are left free to enjoy adult activities. Another popular pastime is the burro picnic. Bouncing along to the movement of flopping ears, the young riders follow the guides along the trail to the riverbank. And then it's hi-oh silver across the stream for lunch and a swim. Nightfall ushers in another round of gay activities. There's entertainment under the stars, followed by dancing in the big pavilion. And always the big campfire, an old familiar song. Famed throughout the world is Yosemite's impressive Firefall from Glacier Point. A mound of red fir bark is piled at the edge of the cliff and set afire. As the fire burns low, the dark shadows creep up the cliffs until only the tip of Half Dome gleams like a glowing coal. Then is blotted out, leaving only the pale blue flames of the dying fire. Far below, thousands of faces are turned upward, and ears strain for the sound of the distant call. Then the waiting fire tenders push the coals over the brink. Silently, the glowing cascade fans out into a fiery cataract, drifting down in slow, majestic motion. For a fleeting moment, its beauty holds you spellbound. Then you gather it up as your most treasured memory of Yosemite, Valley of Enchantment.